Okay, everyone. It is exactly 11 a.m. on a
Perfect.
rainy Friday, and we will get started. Just by means of a little bit of introduction, I know we started last week, but for our class this week, you will need that strap. So I had mentioned last week that you might need a strap or a bathrobe belt or whatever you have handy. We'll use that today for sure. And I do, when I'm live in this Yoga for Healthy Aging class, usually start with a reading. And I don't want to do a lot of that because we have less time on these Zoom sessions, but I am going to read just something pretty quick, and we'll build on that in the next few weeks. And it's about, guess what, anxiety, yoga and anxiety, and how yoga can help with anxiety. It's, I'm sure that word anxiety is something we're all becoming familiar with more and more these days. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is Yoga for Healthy Aging. If you're new to this class, it's not my system, it's a real thing. There's a book, there's a blog, there's lots of helpful videos online if you search on Yoga for Healthy Aging. So just wanted to make sure you understood that it's not mine, but I am certified in it. So I will begin with this brief reading about how yoga and specifically the breath can help with anxiety. So the authors, Baxter Bell and Nina Zolotow, who founded this system, got together and they chose 3 specific breath practices that you can choose when you're feeling anxious. In general, all 3 are different ways of lengthening your exhalation. And if you've been with me for a while, you've probably practiced that lengthening of the exhalation. But here's why it works. Because your heart rate is naturally slower on your exhalation than your inhalation, making your exhalation longer begins to slow down your overall heart rate, sending a message to your brain that everything is more peaceful and calm than it was just a few minutes ago. This message encourages your brain to support the shift by activating the rest and digest, or as it's sometimes known, the relaxation response, which will reduce your stress hormones. You may have heard of some of those. Cortisol is one. Quiet your mind and hopefully begin to quell your anxiety. So there are 3 techniques specifically that they're recommending, and we're going to practice just one today, and we'll practice the other 2 in coming weeks. So hope those might be useful to you. And with that said, we are going to come into our relaxation or our centering at the beginning of class. So feel free to sit in your chair or on the floor in a cross-legged position and just come into a place of physical stillness. Your spine is long. The crown of the head is reaching skyward. You can almost imagine that a little invisible string is pulling you a bit upward at the center of your head. But you're relaxed if you're in the chair and letting yourself be supported. Finding that physical stillness and coming to turn your attention inward to your breathing. Just that simple breath observation, noticing your own inhales and exhales for the next few moments. When your mind becomes distracted, as it almost inevitably will, You simply acknowledge that. That's your mind working. You draw your attention, your focus, as best you can back to your breathing. Now, please draw your hands together to your heart center. Press your palms firmly but gently together and find that little lift by sliding the thumbs just a little bit up the sternum and into that space, that new space you've created. We'll chant, if you choose to join me, I hope you will, the sound of Om 3 times together, breathing in. Inhaling, exhaling, replace hands to lap, allow your eyelids to open, and I forgot to mute, so that was nice. I heard some oming. Thank you for that. Let me mute you all now if you're not already. And we begin, as always, by linking the breath with some gentle movement just to get that communication going between the breath, the mind, and the body. So sitting up nice and tall, finding your seated mountain. And we'll just begin by releasing the arms alongside the body. Wait for the inhalation. Join that with movement, lifting the left arm up towards the sky. Wait for the exhalation. Join that with movement, release. Second side.
Right down.
The lift is the inhale. The release is the exhale. We're going to add, after this next cycle, a turn of the head as well. The next time you lift your left arm, turn head right. And release, come back to center. Other side. And do that at your own pace, the pace of your breath, for the next few cycles. The next time you lift your right or your left arm up, let's pause with the head turned. Breathe. You can feel those top fingertips stretching up and the base fingertips releasing down for a long line. Breathe well. Place all 10 fingertips on your shoulders and come into a little side tilt towards your right. Come back up. We'll do it on the same side a few times. So you can really feel your bottom elbow releasing down towards your hip. So a contraction there. Come back up. And the top elbow lifts. If you're wondering about your head, I'm choosing to look down at the floor, but you could also stay in neutral. And release. Let's take that to the second side. So first, we're lifting right arm up, opposite arm down, turn head to the left. Pause. Feel that nice long length through the arms, through the side bodies, the spine. Now placing your fingertips again on top of your shoulders and taking those little side tilts to the other side. And side tilting on the exhale. Remember, this is all going to be about emphasizing the exhalation today in our breath practices. And one more time. Coming back up to upright. And just take, while we're here, a few nice, easy little elbow circles in one direction, and then the other. Coming to stillness once again, releasing your hands. We'll come to stand. We do so methodically, hinging from the hips. Inhale. Exhale, come all the way up, arms overhead. Upper arms could be framing your ears, or they could be a little bit more forward. And let's just pause and remain here for a few breaths. I think I need to mute again. And you're in your arms overhead pose. Your legs, your hips, your torso are in mountain pose. That means legs are strong and your breath is flowing. Release, bring the arms down alongside the body, please, and take hold, if you would, of your strap. So whatever you have handy would be perfect. So it could be a yoga strap, could be a bathrobe belt, could be a belt you use for your pants or trousers. And you just want to make sure it's pretty long, because we'll need a bit of that length today. We're going to go wider than shoulder distance, and we're going to pull the two sides of the strap apart from one another, as if you could. So the strap is quite taut. Maintaining that tautness on the strap, lift the belt up overhead, and exhaling, release, bring it back down. And don't release that tautness on the strap between breath cycles unless you feel you need a break. And if you're somebody with any kind of shoulder issues, you can go even wider on the strap. You can come a little bit more forward. You don't need to go all the way overhead, of course. Do what's right in your own practice, always. And the next time you bring that strap down, pause now, let it relax a little bit. We're going to go a little bit wider with our feet, wider than hips distance. And your strap is still being held at about, the ankles and the wrists are at about the same width. This time, I'll turn to the side. As you bring the strap up, give yourself a little bit more space on the strap if you need to. We're going to bring it back behind us just a bit. That might feel interesting. We're looking for a sensation, no strain, of course. Inhaling. Come on back up, and exhaling, bring the strap down. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhaling. Give yourself a little more space if you need to. Arms remain pretty straight. And bring it back behind you. Up and down. This last time will be a pause with the strap back behind us. So strap back, pause, breathe, make sure you're not jutting your rib cage out. And if this just doesn't feel good for you, you can do something similar without the strap. Inhaling, lift up. Exhaling, release, arms down, turn to face center. Find your mountain pose again. Breathe. Notice what you're feeling. Might be feeling quite a bit of sensation across the shoulders, maybe into the upper back. And we're going to do one more little sequence with the strap. If you do have a yoga belt and you would like to use a loop, you can put your hands in there and measure shoulder distance, but we're going to have it back behind us. So you can do that with the loop, or if you don't have a yoga belt, you're using a bathrobe belt or something else, you're simply holding on. So either with the loop or with the hold, we're at about shoulder distance, and we're simply going to lift that belt up back behind us, and exhaling, release the strap down. It might be a little bitty lift, might be a little bit higher, and exhaling, release. You can, of course, go wider on the strap. That would be helpful if this is feeling like it's bringing any kind of tension or discomfort into your shoulders. And release. Pause. Let the strap relax a little bit, but don't put it aside yet. Just hold loosely on the strap while we work into our legs. So take a look down at your feet. Make sure your big toes are even with one another. We're just going to come in and out of chair pose. So I'm actually going to just bring the strap in front of me. You can hold it anywhere you choose, because we're just focusing now on the legs and the torso. Sitting back in chair pose, hips back, little lift of the heart. And come back up. And sit back in your imaginary chair. And come back up. And it's very important that the hips go back here. And come up. So we're not going straight down. It's easier on the knees when we send the hips back. And come back up. And let's put those two parts of the sequence together. So holding the strap behind you or putting your wrists inside the loop. The breath, so important. More important than anything. The next time you exhale, we'll lift the arms and bend the knees, send the hips back. So two things happening. Straighten and release the arms. Hips back, arms lift. And lengthen now. Hips back. And lengthening one more time. Here's your lift. Pause. You can think about your shoulders, blades moving more deeply into your back body. And your breath is flowing. Come out at any time. We're building a lot of strength here, not just for the muscles, but the bones benefit. Come all the way up. Exhale, release. You can put the strap aside. We will use it later on, so don't put it too far aside. And we're going to do some sun salutes, some of those half sun salutes we do in many classes. So set yourself up behind a chair. You don't need to use the chair if you don't want to. Bringing your hands together to your heart center. Find that gentle lift. Thumbs at the heart center. Relax your shoulders. Find your breath. Inhaling, look up, lift the arms. Exhaling. We were just here, chair pose. But right away, lengthening, finding your long spine. And bending the knees, sending the arms out to the sides. Lifting. Exhaling, home base, hands at the heart. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhaling, exhaling, inhaling. Feel free to go a little bit deeper. We worked with different ways of being in the forward bend last week, so you could be here or you could be deeper. Chair pose. Inhaling, lift. Exhaling, hands to heart. This last time we're going to add on, we're going to add a little twist. So inhaling, exhaling, chair pose. And here's your twist. You can have one hand on the back of the chair, the other hand comes to your sacrum. Little twist towards your right. Let's come on back to center. Stand up just for a breath. Give those hard-working legs a moment to release and stretch. And we're going to do it again on the other side. So coming right away into chair pose. Hand to the chair or to your thigh. Other hand to the sacrum. A little twist here. Come on back to center. And let's just finish up the flow by lengthening the legs and pausing, hands at the heart center. We're going to come into chair dog, which we did, I know we did last week, and many of you have done with me in other classes. So it is always an option as well for those of you who don't want to come down to hands and knees and do downward dog on the floor, which we'll do in a moment. So let's all do chair dog together. Stepping your feet back about a leg's distance from your chair. I'm a back archer, trying not to do what I'm doing. You probably see that arch in my back. More length in the spine would be appropriate. And you can lift one heel and then the other heel, pedaling your feet a little bit. Might also feel nice to sway your hips a little bit side to side. Coming back to stillness. Feel free to either be in your chair dog with straight legs or bent knees. Choose which feels best for you. And then everyone bending the knees, walk yourself forward and come all the way up to stand. So we're also going to do today chair plank. So I'll just demonstrate quickly in case you haven't done it before. You'll start in dog, and then you're going to bring yourself forward until you're in one long line from shoulders to heels. You can lift your heels, or for more stability, you can keep your heels grounded. So let's do that together. Anyone who doesn't like that pressure on the wrists, fine to do this on forearms, okay? Or at the wall. The wall would be a good option as well. So let's all step back, find our chair dog, and just breathe in. Bring your hips forward so that you feel that long line. And send the hips back again. Breathe forward. Gentle engagement, abdominals here. And exhaling. Inhaling. Little hold. This might be where you choose to come up higher on your tiptoes or stay grounded. Breathe well. We're strengthening a lot of those core muscles as well as the upper body. Exhale, breathe the hips back, bend the knees, walk yourself forward, and come all the way back up to upright. Breathe in mountain pose. Here's your stillness. Here's your opportunity to come back to your breath. So we are going to come down to hands and knees for people who choose to. And of course, you know that there are always the options. So we're going to do downward facing dog on the mat today for those who would like to. Anyone who doesn't want to come down, you know, you can do this at the wall. You can do it at the chair. So for those who are joining me, come on down to hands and knees. And let's start with some cat-cow stretches. So find table pose first, long spine. Feel a line from the crown of the head out to your tailbone. And let's take our cow pose, arcing the spine, gazing slightly up. Engage abdominals, come back to table. And arc the spine. Find neutral. For people without back problems, without osteoporosis, you may choose to round in, dropping your gaze, looking towards your navel, and find your arc. Inhale, everyone here. And on the exhale, some are coming to neutral, some are rounding. Everyone coming back to neutral, preparing now for downward facing dog. Please bring your hands a little bit forward of your shoulders. Make sure your toes are tucked. Inhale, and as you exhale, you're going to press well into your hands, lift your hips up and back. I recommend keeping a bend in the knees, especially if you've never done dog before. A little bend in the knees, press chest towards thighs. And let's everyone come on down carefully, gently. And we'll do that one more time. We'll hold a little bit longer if appropriate for you. Inhaling, exhaling, lift those hips up and back. If you're experienced with dog pose, feel free to lengthen the legs. If you're newer, I recommend keeping the knees bent. A few breaths here. Don't wait until you're so fatigued that you come down suddenly onto your knees. Come down at any time. If you haven't already, please do join me down on the ground, hands and knees, but let's come to stand up on our shins. It's like a kneeling mountain pose, so you're still thinking about that alignment of ears, shoulders, hips, knees in one line. And you're breathing just a few moments here, recovering, finding your breath's rhythm. And we will come up to stand again. So here's a great way to practice. There's a skill in yoga for healthy aging known as agility. And it's just a way, you could even practice it a few times. It's just a way of moving with ease. And it certainly is a good accompaniment to our balance practices, which we'll get to in a bit. But for now, standing poses. You can put your blanket aside for now. And we're going to stand with the left foot forward, pointing towards the chair, opposite foot steps back. Just make sure that back foot is not turned out. So the 2 feet are facing in slightly different directions. Make sure the hips are level. You might notice one hip is naturally a little higher than the other. Find your balance. And we'll begin moving into a Warrior 2 sequence. Here's Warrior 2, bending the knee, arms out in a T position. And release, bring them down. Exhaling. Leave the arms in a T position. This time as you bend, the back arm lifts. Just the back arm. Back to the T position. Back arm lifts. T position. Turn the head. Gaze out over your front fingertips. This is a little variation on Warrior 2. Breathe. And release the arm down, straighten the leg, just take a breath or two. We'll add on in a moment. Bending into the knee again, this time bringing your forearm down onto the chair or maybe onto your thigh. And let's lift that back arm again, this time tilting it over. Tilting it into this nice long side stretch called side angle pose. Head can be in neutral. Many people choose to turn to look towards inner elbow. That could be an option for you. And coming back up through Warrior 2, straighten the leg, release the arms down. We'll come to the second side. So now your right foot is forward. Excuse me, just taking a sip. And your left foot steps back. Back toes either parallel or slightly turned in. Hands on hips, notice what's going on this side. Is one hip higher than the other? Let's find our Warrior 2, bending into the front knee, arms in a T position, and release. Bending, and release. This time as you bend, that back arm comes up, front knee bends. T position now. Back arm lifts. T position, long legs. Let's turn the head. Lengthening. Turning the head, lifting the arm. The last time will be our hold in this variation on Warrior 2. Gazing out over forward fingertips, back arm lifted. A few breaths here. Please come out at any time. Coming all the way back up to upright if you haven't already. Take a breath or two here. Legs, feet stay in the same position. We're going to take that into our side angle pose. So, bending the knee, bringing the forearm down to the chair or the thigh, and arm alongside ear. Side angle pose. Feel the long line from back heel out through your lifted fingertips. And again, you could turn your gaze up towards inner elbow if you like that feeling on your neck, or stay in neutral. Inhaling, come on back up to warrior two, and straighten the leg, release the arms. Let's take our nice wide-legged mountain pose. And heel toe yourself in just a little bit. Now let's take them back all the way to mountain pose. So in mountain pose, hips distance. And we're going to work on one of our balance poses. So you might want to have the chair in front of you where you'll have more stability. I'll show you what's going on and you can choose. So we're going to, hey, this looks familiar. I did this a few times already, right? And we're going to add a lift of the heels. So we'll do, I'll talk you through it, but it will be lifting and turning from side to side. So feel free whether you'd like to do that behind the chair for more stability. You could be off to the side, or maybe you don't need the chair today. Finding standing mountain. Feet are flat on the floor. Toes directly forward. And let's lift our toes up off the earth and spread them nice and wide. Spread those toes wide, just like I'm spreading my fingers wide. And lay them down on the floor so there's still a lot of space between the toes. That's going to help your balance. Keeping the feet grounded. Let's just come back to that nice flow of the arms and the breath. Inhaling, lift. Exhaling, lower. Inhaling, lift. Exhaling, lower. We'll add the turn of the head. The next time we come back to neutral, facing directly forward, just that little lift of the heels, with or without holding, release down, turn the head. Come on back to center, lift the heels, and release. Turn the head, lift the arm. Come on back. Now we're going to start putting all those parts together. Lifting arm, lifting heels, turning head. Exhale, release. Other side. As best you can, think about those ankles lifting straight up. They might be a little bit wobbly. Muscles of the ankles need strengthening, just like muscles in other parts of the body. So this is a practice we don't do that often. Strengthening the muscles that surround the ankles. And let it be a little bit playful. Maybe you're holding. Maybe you're just turning your head or just lifting your arm as you choose. how to work in this sequence. Anytime we turn our heads or shift our gaze, it's really good for balance. One more time on each side. Coming to stillness. Pause. That was a lot. Notice what you're feeling. Notice where you're feeling fatigue or greater strength. And let's stretch out those calf muscles. You can come to be behind a piece of furniture, your chair. Let's bring we start on the same side. Let's bring the right foot forward first. Step the other foot back. And this is a simple little runner's lunge. You're lifting your back heel, rolling up. Heel lifts up off the ground. Heel presses towards the earth. Lifting, pressing back down. That should feel good. Coming to the other side. Find your lunge. Front knee's a little bit bent. And lifting. Pressing down. Lifting. Pressing down. And again. Bringing both feet together, come to stand. We're going to do one more little stretch for the ankles and the calves. This one's a little different. Right foot forward, left foot back. They're pretty close together, toes directly forward. You're going to bend into just the back knee. Bend into the back knee. So before, right, we were bending the front knee. Now we're bending the back knee and sitting back again as if in a chair. So your hips are reaching back. You might feel all kinds of interesting things going on in the ankle, the calf of that bent leg. Front leg is straight, back leg is bent. It's different. Come to lengthen both legs and let's reverse. Other foot comes forward, back knee bends, front leg is straight. Notice the sensations in that back ankle. And coming back to upright. We're going to come down onto, yes, it will be time to come to sit down on the, lie down on the floor. If you're not a lying down on the floor person, you are going to come to the wall. We'll do Sphinx pose first, so elbows right in front of shoulders, hips towards wall, lift. And in a moment after that, we'll be doing a variation on Cobra. For wall people, hands right in front of shoulders, elbows in close. For people who are joining me on the floor, take your time making your way down. Releasing yourself towards the earth. Place your elbows under your shoulders. Fingers spread wide. Breathe. Think about length from pubic bone to top of sternum. Lengthening the front body. Tops of the feet pressing down. And come to relax, release. Forehead to the top arm. Breathe. Let the legs relax. For most of us, that will mean the heels fall a little bit outward. Bringing your attention to your breath, how your body moves as you breathe. We're going to now place our hands a little bit differently as we did last week in Cobra. Palms are under the shoulders. If you're at the wall, they're directly in front of your shoulders. And place your forehead on the wall or on the ground. Elbows stay in close. As you breathe in, lift your chest, your shoulders, your neck, your head is the last thing to float up. And exhale, release. Your head is the last thing to come down. We'll repeat that with the breath, but this time we're going to turn the left cheek to the floor as we come, or the wall as we come back down. Inhaling, come up to center. Exhaling, replace. Now the other cheek to the floor. Alternating the turn of your head as you lift and lower in Cobra. At your own pace. I find that I have to start to move a little bit more quickly because these arching poses are very heating. My breath starts to come more quickly. The last time will be a centered Cobra. Find your lift, any height, it can be low. If your back is feeling pretty good today, it might be a little higher. Breathe. And release. Opposite arm folds on top, head rests. Legs relax. And notice the pace of your breathing. It might be quite a bit more rapid than it was when we began. We are going to come onto our backs for some back work. I think I've told you I don't come onto my back. I've got some vertigo stuff going on, which is much better, by the way. But anyway, what we'll be doing is sitting on the chair, or you're coming down onto your back with your knees bent. And people in the chair are simply going to tilt back a little bit to find that long spine. People on the floor, long spine, knees bent. Let's all just take a nice stretch. Reaching the legs out long, arms reaching back, and exhaling, drawing in. If you're on the floor, you can certainly draw those thighs in towards the chest. That's tough in the chair. Inhaling, lengthen, everyone. Arms long, back behind you, legs long. And bend. Let's do that one more time. Nice full breath. Through the nose, exhaling. Release those arms down, bend the knees. Now, have your belt available. We're going to, everyone please, lift the right foot up off the floor. You're going to interlace behind the thigh and draw that thigh in towards the chest. The other leg can remain bent or you can lengthen it. You choose. What we'll be doing is going out with the knee and back in. Out and in. I'll guide you through it. Drawing that thigh directly in towards the chest first. Release the hand to your chair or maybe out into a T position if you're on the floor. Bring the knee back to center. Knee is bent here, remains bent just a few times. Out and in. Getting some nice movement in the hip joint. Coming back in, everyone, from your in position with the thigh hugging in closely. You can take some knee circles. And reverse those. Coming back to stillness. Here we go with our strap. So you're going to take that strap, place it around the ball mounds of the right foot. Don't be in a hurry. Breathe in, breathe out. And on the next breath in, lengthen that leg. Any height is fine. If you're in the chair, it could be here, could be higher, very individual. And stretch. Just enjoy what's happening in the back of that leg, getting some nice length in those muscles. Doing the same thing, of course, on the floor. I'll take a quick look. Sole of the foot up towards the sky. Yes, nice. Beautiful, everyone. And now taking to the right. Arm can come out T position. Opposite leg again can be long or bent. Breathe. If you're on the floor, just make sure that leg go off to the side so much that you're lifting the opposite hip. So we want to keep both hips grounded down to the earth. You could even place your left hand on your left hip just as a little reminder to keep that opposite hip grounded. Please breathe in, bring that leg back up to center. And we're just going to take a tiny little cross. It's just a few inches. Both sides of the strap now go in your left hand. You're bringing the leg across the midline now. And you'll get a stretch. That's what we're aiming for in the outside of the hip, those big hip muscles. Breathe. Come on back to center. Bend your knees so you can take the strap off. Let it just hang out for a minute while we switch sides. Take a moment to find your balance. Both feet are on the floor. Find balance in the hips. You might need to lift one and then the other a little bit. And then second side. Remember, we're starting with the bent knee. The left foot lifts. And you're drawing your thigh in towards your chest first. And now drawing the knee out to the side. Let it come back to center, just that little movement back and forth. Opposite leg long or bent. The next time you bring the knee in towards center. You can take a couple of little knee circles, getting more movement in the hip joint, one direction and the other. Coming back to stillness, now it's time for the belt again, wrapping the belt around ball mounds. And stretching your foot up towards either the sky, or if you're in the chair, might be a little bit lower, you choose. We want to keep that spine lengthened, which if you're on the floor is pretty natural. If you're in the chair, you've got to keep reminding yourself to lift your heart and not hunch forward. Please transfer both sides of the strap now into your left hand. Bring that straight leg out to the side. Remember, if you're on the floor, not to let it go too far. You might want to place your hand on your opposite hip as a little gentle reminder to keep those hips in balance. Inhale and come back up. Take both sides of the strap now in your right hand and bring your foot and leg across the midline just a little bit until you feel sensation on the outside of the hip. Arm can be out in the T or on the chair if you're in the chair for stability. And please bring everything back to center. Bend the knee, take the strap off, come all the way back up to upright if you're in the chair, or bring both feet back down to the earth if you're on the floor. And let's just take, many of you have done Apanasana with me. It's super simple. I just use the Sanskrit word because that way I don't have to describe it every single time. But if you haven't done it, it's just lifting your feet up off the floor, placing hands on kneecaps, bending your elbows, drawing your thighs a little bit closer to your chest. And on the inhalation, lengthening the arms, knees away from the chest. Exhaling, drawing in. And stay on knees, lengthen arms, inhale. That's tough to do in the chair, so if you're in the chair, here's a nice variation, hinging forward, coming back to upright. Working wherever you are, on the floor or in the chair, on your Apanasana. And everyone, settle yourselves into a place of stillness now, releasing feet to the floor if you're on the floor. Finding a nice, comfortable position in the chair. If you're in the chair, that could be leaning back a bit. I like to scoot towards a wall so I can support my head. Take your time. Finding a comfortable position for your breath work, which we'll come to now. So I'll come a little closer to make sure you can hear me. Everybody settling yourselves in comfortably. Drawing your attention back to your breathing. You can place your hands on your side ribs or on your belly. And as you draw your attention to your breath, notice how your body is moving as you breathe. We're not going to particularly guide the movement today. we are going to be focusing on the exhalation. Breathing in, breathing out at your natural rhythm. Breathing in, breathing out. Now just pause for one beat. Breathing in again, breathing out, pause, breathing in, breathing out, brief pause, breathing in, breathing out. If you're okay with it, maybe lengthening that pause another beat, breathing in, breathing out, just a slightly longer pause. If at any time, continue please, if at any time you feel short of breath, this just doesn't feel right for you, go back to your natural breath. Otherwise, continue breathing in, breathing out, introducing that brief pause, breathing in, breathing out, brief pause, breathing in, and 3 more rounds on your own. And after your third brief pause, allow the breath to return to natural, no more introduced pauses. There might be some that are there naturally now. Let the breath be natural. The body is relaxed. The mind is quietly focused for the next few moments in our relaxation pose. This is Shavasana. Please allow your breathing to go very conscious once again, and a little bit deeper, longer. Bring movement into hands, wrists, fingers, toes. If you're on the floor, bending knees, rolling over to your side. If you're in the chair, you can come away from the chair back and sit up tall. Everyone returning to our upright seated mountain position. Let your legs be comfortable. No need for them to be in any particular position. Please bring your hands together at your heart center. Find that gentle press in and that little subtle lift. Let's close our practice together today with one Om. Nice, full, unforced inhalation. Om. One more full inhalation, filling with the calming, anxiety releasing benefits of yoga. Exhaling. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Be well. I will see some of you on Monday, some of you next Friday.